This is from... bring it over here. This is from Lyle. Lyle 15, or Lied 15. This is a Stellar Blade article. This is a... oh, shoot, there was another thing I wanted to get, but I might have to look it up later. I forgot to grab... so this is from Inverse, the controversy. Stellar Blade and the male gaze. Attractive to who? Oh, man. I don't know who wrote this. I don't think I see in... Stellar Blade is an upcoming sci-fi RPG from Korean studios Upshift. Oh, sorry, this is Elise van der Velde wrote this. So this is a sci-fi RPG from Korean studios Upshift. The fight can mostly be seen a late vocal pushback against narrative consulting company Sweet Baby Incorporated for pushing, and then this is where you know what type of article it's going to be, gasp, diverse female characters. A select few on Steam and Twitter users are up and I'm like 300,000 are the select few. Now these vocal few are praising the buxom and bouncy protagonist of Stellar Blade. Eve, they say, invokes a time they miss when women in games used to be titillating and attractive. She caters to the so-called male gaze, an academic term coined by film theorist Lauren Mulvey in 1973. The male gaze is often portrayed as seeing a scantily clad woman on screen being bad. According to Dr. Matt Demi, a film and television studies teaching fellow at Warwick University, then he adds that the gaze is about assuming straight male spectator. God, who would want to do that? Developer Upshift appears to be leaning into the male gaze heavily. On his Twitter accounts and in interviews, it was made sure to draw close attention to the fact Eve's body is taken from scans of Korean model Shin Ju-eun's game director Kim Hye-yoon Tai. Sorry, guys, I have no idea how to pronounce this. Justify the choice of body model, saying that we want to come up with the most attractive body, looking body for the user. I mean, based. PlayStation promotional material has backed this up with Instagram trailers focusing on revealing outfits players can dress Eve up in, and Upshift did not return a request for comment. Good for them. Denny points out that the textbook male gaze, this is textbook male gaze, attractive to who, asked Denny. Straight men, you idiot. To what gender? What sexuality? What nationality? You really think nationality plays a part here? A lot of these choices are assuming a lot of things about who the developers think the player is going to be. This is one of the points they try to attack. All like, guys, there's so many people out there that would like a fat woman, apparently. Why don't you cater to them? They really just hate, by the way, spoiler alert, they just hate straight men, is the reality. Straight men are evil, if you want, is the TLDR of this article. While Eve's body was made up of scans of Shin's face, while Eve's body was made from a scan of Shin's, who writes like this? Shin's body, her face was made in-house, and Shin wasn't used for the motion capture. They didn't choose an athlete or martial artist or even an actor, says Denny. You don't want Shin as a performer, you want her for the neck down. Yes, they do want her for the neck down, her hot body, her picturesque body. How dare they? It seems to be very much a statement on the parts of this woman that are of value. Oh no, a model. Oh no, a model is valued for her looks and the shape of her body. Oh no, I don't think there's a good reason they didn't use her face. And some are saying, oh, it's because they don't want to pay her residuals. Like, look, it's hard to do faces in real life. I mean, as you saw from last week, where they had Kay Vess, having real people's faces in games usually does not work out. It's not a good idea. But I guess Denny here is trying to imply. Hold on a second. Let me. I don't want to interrupt things. Oh no, I can't reveal my files. We'll see my secret Vouch style goblin folder. Let's see. Here we go. I gotta bring this guy up. Let me see. Let me bring it up in Chrome. Here we go. So this is, just so you know who's, the guy on the right, or sorry, the left. The guy on the left is Denny. That's Denny here. And the other person that's going to be introduced, I believe her name, we'll see her name. But this is, the guy on the left is who's talking about what characters are sexy and which ones are not. You know, what's appropriately sexy and what isn't. These are the two people they interviewed. Very, very experts in the field. Oh, yes, here's Joe. Here we go. Dr. Poppy Wild. This is Wine Ant on the right here is Dr. Poppy Wild. She is the one to be discussing as well. A senior lecturer in media communication at Birmingham's School of Social Media explains the male gaze isn't so simple in video games. If we're thinking about gaze as creating a subject position, it is the same as looking at an object, because the avatar is kind of active in that as well. Based on the trailer, this is such a weird take. Eve seems a rather active participant, but the recent release demo paints a different picture. While Eve may demonstrate mastery in combat outside of battle, her absent personality makes her more of a doll than an action figure, which I assume she might be more of a silent protagonist, which is common for video games like Zelda or Link in Legend of Zelda. Lack of performance attached to Eve's body has recently noted by internet culture writer Gita Jackson. Oh man, Eve doesn't seem to have any reaction to her own sexiness. There's no knowing facial expression, no flipping of her ponytail, which players can shorten in the options menu. She has no aisle animation except when she's on a ladder. She just stands there. She's sexy but doesn't know it. She's athletic and acrobatic, but entirely controllable. If she did know, if she could move for herself, it would shatter the illusion of many of the gamers championing her, because she'd have the agency to be able to reject them rather than simply be controlled by them. Like, what an unhinged take. Guys, the problem with Eve is that she can't tell you you're disgusting for thinking she's sexy. You incels. I didn't look up who Gita Jackson is, but probably the same. Looks about the same. It's not about making games less sexy, Denny says. That's just a clip. I don't understand what she's trying to say here. Like, in order for it to be appropriately sexy, apparently she has to have agency as well. Like, she has to act properly, like a sort of Western woman in a lot of these movies or stuff. Like, you need to know that she doesn't actually like you when you're playing her. She just can't be an avatar. The way we gaze changes in video games. It often depends on different perspectives. And this is a fair point. A lot of the times we aren't looking at the avatar. We're looking through the avatar with the avatar. While you're playing the game, yeah, you're not actually paying attention to Eve the entire time. You have to do things like dodge, attack. So there's a lot of stuff going on. During cutscenes, the perspective in the gaze changes. There's something in there showing physical potential of the body type with combat and athleticism, Denny notes. It's not just nice to look at. Then you get cutscenes of, and every single one of the narrative sequences starts with the camera pointed at her bum. Yeah. That's it's called good direction. That's doing something different. There's also a robot who follows Eve around during exploration, shining a light that frequently highlights her from her behind. Wow. That's terrible. Eve's body is both a site of empowerment and objectification, depending on how we're invited to look. A site of empowerment and objectification. Oh man, I don't even know where to start on that. Yes, I really want my bodies to be empowering when I play games, which I guess is somewhat true. Like, you're supposed to feel powerful when you're playing as a character, but oh no, it could be objectified too. Oh no. You could think of Eve as a culmination of a long line of characters structured by the male gaze, explicitly or not, from Lara Croft to various concubines, Kratos' beds. Plenty of women in video games are designed to be ogled. This is especially true in Shift Up's previous game, Destiny's Child, featured a lot of anime women. Players could dress up. Yeah. Shift Up has been known. This is why you might see not safe for work nearly nude skins as a culmination of such characters. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, this is the other thing. There's an attitude of playing these games hardest mode that shows you're a real gamer. So they're complaining that, oh wow, it's or bikini armor, that almost nude type of armor is is problematic. There's an attitude of playing on hardest mode and that shows you're a real gamer. So she doesn't think that it'll be seen as a thoughtful play on the tropes. Just another badge of honor be collected with the added bonuses of looking at Eve in fewer clothes. They also try to make this point, which is insane. There's also a particular type of Orientalism surrounding Stellar Blade. Some are holding up Stellar Blade as an antidote to woke Western games, and many people commented they'd be purchasing a Japanese version of Stellar Blade to secure access to the region-exclusive Japanese dub, despite it being a Korean game with the Korean dub. I haven't really seen a lot of people saying this. In fact, I see more people saying that they'd rather play it in Korean because it's a Korean game, so the voices fit better. It's because that's difficult to get a hold of, so you're a bigger gamer fan if you can demonstrate that you've gone to the extra link to get the version. It's because there's particular respect for the Japanese voice cast, which, could be fair. Some people like Japanese voice actors. That might be part of these generous readings. Or because it's actually Korean femininity doesn't have connotations for Western colonial imagination that the Japanese femininity does? What the hell? It's almost like in order to fulfill the fantasy of puppeteering this attractive woman and putting her in certain outfits and placing the camera just right, she needs to be Japanese. Denny, I have no idea where he gets this idea. And it's insane. But also, I will also say, there are plenty of people that like to sort of like dress her up like a doll, that, enjoy putting, cute outfits on attractive women. That's always been a part of games. It's not some crazy Orientalism or some sort of bizarre like racial fetish. I think he might be projecting here. I don't have no idea what Korean femininity is either. And I'm wondering if Denny is familiar with it either. But I don't know how they're different. This is kind of this whole thing seems like a crazy thing to say. Yes, and then they just talk about this. Oh, this is where they try to make really insane points, and I might have to bring up another thing that I forgot to. Sadly, another thing that I forgot to. A picture I forgot to bring up. Let's see if I have it here. Some of it's because it's insane. They make a lot of these times. They make there we go. Left Wing Hacks is I think where I had the. Here we go. I found it. My Left Wing Hacks folder had it in here, but I have to thank these Left Wing Hacks for this. So I'll bring this up in a second. Let me actually look at this. Straight woman. I've always valued sexy. Yeah, exactly. Most women do actually like sexy female. There we go. The outrage on others' behalf. Bingo. She does it. She does know that Japan's history with Korea. I'm not sure. I think Denny's actually the man here, and the Poppy Wild is the woman. But yeah, they might have done some things. You don't know. Might have had some history in the past. Japan's always been a nice country, right? But let's look at this. This is the lie that they use. Based on the social media responses, Eve's body and outfits, clips of her bum and thigh jiggles as she climbed the ladder. All this amid pushback against games that feature diverse characters and bodies. Lots of straight men seem to be assuming themselves as the rightful target audience of not just Stellar Blade, but video games in general. Statistics show that isn't true. As of 2023, around 50% of people who play games are women. Shift Up assuming this audience of men and leaning in the male gaze is so explicitly is, in essence, a marketing move that purposely others a huge amount of potential players. Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know 50% of female gamers were females. And let's bring this up. This is from Quantic Foundry. This was actually from like one of these, like I said, left-wing hack, female and game empowerment people. Actually had this statistic in her slideshow. So let's take a look. So this is where they get, if you look at the top, this is where they get the 50%. Match 3 and Family Farm Sim, they're 69%. Mobile games, essentially. Casual puzzle, atmospheric exploration. Let's take a look down here. Japanese RPG, 33%. And I think it's usually 33% because they actually have hot women. I'd actually almost make this assumption. But Western RPG, it gets even smaller. And you go to the bottom, sports tactical shooter. But let's assume that, you know, it goes into, it's probably actually more action RPG at 20% rather than Japanese RPG, because I assume the JRPG is more like turn-based, less action oriented. But if you go to like action adventure or an action RPG, you got about 20% to 18% of the audience is female. And this is the lie that they try to use in this. Because it's technically true that 50%, if you like every game, like, oh, web game, mobile game, yes. If you like were to survey people, a woman, do you play video games? Like, they'd probably say, yeah, I've played a video game. Shift up assuming that, but the people that are going to play this game are going to be predominantly male. If producers want to create video games that are only intended for male audience, it's really unwise. It's really unwise. I cannot wait to see the sales that Stellar Blade does, because they're alienating a huge demographic, Wild says. Poppy Wild, Wine Mom here. Yep, she looks like she's into a lot of video games. I'm sure she would love to play Stellar Blade if it wasn't so sexist. Yeah, it does measure mobile games. It doesn't measure mobile games only. It's just video games. It's like a survey. They'll like go ask, you know, random people surveys, do you play video games? And then they actually probably asked, you know, what video game you played. Where they get 50% is, you know, if you ask, you know, like if you get like 300 people, you know, 150 of them men, 150 of them women, do you play video games? They'll probably say yes. Like, I haven't actually looked into this particular statistic, but it's probably like that. Fat people are a huge demographic, but fat people still like sexy women. I'm sure, except, you know, Denny here, he doesn't seem like he likes it that much. But you never know. If there's a sexy woman passed on a couch, Denny might do something. He kind of looks, he kind of has that psygonomy or physiognomy, however you pronounce it. If producers want to create video games that are only intended for, it's really bad. With Gamergate, it was the idea that you're taking away our culture. It's not your culture. It's everyone's culture. Women gamers aren't new. They've always played games. Sure thing. Go to a convention, a gaming convention, or like a LAN, some sort of gaming, you know, tournament, and see how many women are there. There's a struggle for dominance where there's never been a male-dominated area, guys. Trust me. Look at this graph that says 50% of people play games. Totally, this is amazing levels of gaslighting that is completely insane. Like, if you actually look in real life, anyone that's actually played games in real life, been part of the video game community, knows that this is insanely untrue. The truth is, a lot of people, men, women, non-binary, straight, queer, find Eve attractive. However, the way Stellar Blade is being marketed is drawing the new Gamergate 2 crowd. And Eve is being used as a cudgel to bash other female protagonists, even women journalists like Alyssa Mercante. Oh, I got to bring her up. So she's just so hot, you know, that it's making other people look bad, guys. We got to stop it. At the end of the day, we can't know for sure. Then they got to end it with some sort of wishy-washy crap. If Eve will walk the line of male fantasy and who cares if it's women's empowerment? Like it's just a video game. It can be both, actually. You could be a male fantasy. Hey, if a woman plays it, it's like, oh man, she's sexy. I want to be sexy like her. Or step over it into the game is out. It can be both. And I think it does do both when you actually make them sexy. They have face criticism to their appearance, but combine them all into a well-written personality and story, exciting gameplay. Again, when they say like this stuff, like, oh, it's got to be well-written, they just mean leftism. Leftist appropriate crap. She's got to act like she's, a super bossy, remove anything that makes her charming and fun. It's ridiculous. This is really just about pushing leftist cultural norms. That's their problem with it. And that's why they don't like a lot of the Eastern style video games. While Wild reserves judgment, she wants to know how Stardew formulates Eve's relationship with NPCs in the game. It's not about whether your protagonist is beautiful, able-bodied, etc. It's also, is your villain scarred, disabled, or overweight? Oh no. What if the villains are fat? That would be bad, right? Where are you? You're looking for other areas to avoid these again, like I said, it's just about pushing leftist cultural norms. This is what all this like concern trolling is. Like, oh gosh, is he too sexy? Oh no. Are the villains, do they look ugly? Are there other elements of inclusive play and representation? Oh, are there enough black people in it? I don't know. Is there enough black people in this Korean game? That might be a problem. Then he thinks game companies could stand to expand their horizons when it comes to attraction. No, they don't. Guys, it's still, again, let's bring up this graph. It's like 20%, 20 to 25% probably might be female. And of those that don't, I think most of the women would actually like the sexy character. If it was, women playing these games. Though I doubt it. It's like most would actually like the ones that we turned off by Eve being sexy are so far below that. It makes no sense. But I mean, like, even if you're looking at it, it's PS5. It's a PS5 game. It's not like a Switch. It's going to be mostly men that are playing it. And then it's a Japanese, well, I say Korean game, but it's an Eastern game. It's more niche. They're basically honing in on this niche. Which makes good sense. Like, you don't have to make this game for everybody. It's a specific niche type of game that I think is going to be extremely successful. I would willing to bet it's going to be very successful because it knows its audience and it caters to its audience. And this seems to be people seem to be very upset about this. Very concerned because they don't like who it is. The problem isn't Eve. It's who they're actually making this game for, which is straight men. That is what they don't like. It's not about making games less sexy, he says, but making games more sexy for more people. What the hell does this even mean? Is there like different levels of sexy between men and women? Because I don't think so. I think if you look at Sydney Sweeney or any of these actresses in Hollywood, I think we're all pretty much on the same page here.